now I'd like to welcome the third speaker of the Negating team to Rupert.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the affirming team has lost, and it is my duty to demonstrate why. Why have they lost? Well, there are three kind of main areas of clash in the debate, and I believe, the negating team believes, and hopefully the audience and hopefully the adjudicators believe, that the negating team has won out on all three counts. What are these three areas of clash? Firstly, will skilled people actually want to sign this contract? Will it actually disincentivize the brain drain? Secondly, is it economically viable? Is the proposal of the affirming team economically viable in the short term, and is it in the long term? And thirdly, is the method of enforcement of this proposal, is it effective, is it realistic, and is it aggressive, ladies and gentlemen? Firstly, let me deal with the first and foremost area of clash in the debate. The affirming team came out and said, yes, this is going to be optional. As an 18-year-old, 17-year-old leaving school, we are going to be presented with this option of signing our lives away to stay in New Zealand or not. This is the inherent problem in the case. They have not illustrated why people actually want to do this. You're presented with this big, intimidating contract. You can sign away the first half of your working life and receive a bit of money, or you can take neither. For 18-year-olds, this is very daunting. I mean, obviously both sides have their ups and downs. The affirming team has not illustrated why they'll choose this. These skilled workers in particular, these people going into skilled degrees, will choose their side of the argument. They're signing away the first half of their working life. I mean, ignored by the affirming team is that often in the first half of their working life, just got out of university, people like to go overseas on overseas work experience. I mean, that's kind of a cultural part of the New Zealand working life. I mean, that will be completely gone because it will be outlawed, ladies and gentlemen.
1 point, sir.
Taken.
Didn't Chen define it as permanent vocation?
No, he defined it as no. It is permanent vocation if you're kind of working for a year in another country. I know some allusion was made to the fact that if it's kind of a New Zealand firm contracting out, you might be alright. But I mean, New Zealand firms often contract out older, more experienced workers overseas, so this won't apply to these people wanting a work experience. So let's just look at the brain drain for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the third negating affirming speaker has criticised our team on not really addressing this. Now, what is the brain drain? The brain drain, consider a country of New Zealand, 4 million people, doesn't have all these sectors that a country like the United States can have, with a lot larger industry, already established industry that New Zealand industries have to compete with, economies of scale, as I think my first speaker said. He does economics. Inherent is the brain drain problem in New Zealand, and that is why we haven't tried to come up with some gimmicky countermodel to deal with it. However, it is worth noting that the government already takes action to deal with the brain drain. We believe that this should continue. However, we also we also believe that the proposal proposed by the affirming team is unrealistic, it's unworkable, and it's just inappropriate. And now let's look at the people who are causing the brain drain. Say, for example, I wanted to go to medical school and specialise in neuroscience, for example. I might think to myself, in this situation, okay, overseas they're kind of $2 million a year offered for this job. On the other hand, I could not pay a 70 grand university fee. I mean, it's an obvious decision for these people. The opportunities provided overseas completely outweigh the cost of a university degree. That is why the people being targeted here, these people going into specialist degrees, won't sign the contract because it's just common sense. I mean, there's more money if they go overseas than if they remain and don't have to pay for the university education. Also mentioned and briefed by our team, I mean, halfway through your degree you might decide, okay, well, I was going to do law, but now I want to change to commerce. I'm enjoying my commerce. No, thank you. I'm enjoying my commerce papers more, and there are kind of jobs overseas that I might want to do. Oops, I made a decision 2 years ago, just out of high school, so now I'm just completely restricted to that option. Taken.
didn't Chen clearly define that those who failed to complete the course would still pay, but not have to take the 15 years?
No, but what I'm saying is they might change their degree. They want to finish like a commerce degree and work overseas with their commerce degree. Whereas, no, thank you. Okay, for example, if I was planning initially on working in New Zealand, and halfway through my degree I'd kind of changed my mind because I didn't really know what I was in for, and I decided to work overseas, they're just completely restricted of this option because they've been taken advantage of as an 18-year-old leaving high school and not really knowing what the workforce. No, thank you. Not knowing what the workforce is like. I mean, that brings me to my next point. It is a huge decision to make, having left high school, kind of our age here. Do I want to restrict myself for 15 years of my life? They try to kind of brush it off as not a huge commitment to make to your country. 15 years. It is a very long time, especially for people who have only lived for roughly that time themselves. It requires a huge amount of foresight. It almost requires crystal ball gazing skills, as suggested, I think, by Speaker one of their team when he said skilled people should have the foresight. No, thank you. Skilled people should have the foresight to see that far down the line. That's just completely unrealistic. This is one of the other reasons why people won't want to sign this, why they won't want to imprison themselves in the New Zealand workforce for a 15-year sentence. I like the fact that people appreciated my kind of metaphor there. So, okay, moving on. The second and main area of clash, is this doable? Can we actually enforce it? Can we deal with it economically? Well, as brought up by our team, people are going to university. It's very much part of the culture in New Zealand to kind of avoid apprenticeships and that type of thing, and instead have a university education. And I mean, it's leading to increased failure rate. For example, the affirming team has not. Actually, no, that's not true. Don't worry. That was a minor point. Increased university attendance obviously leads to increased costs of the proposal. They've shown why it's affordable in the short term. They've not demonstrated why it's affordable in the short term. Or they said, oh yeah, it's affordable in general because in the long term we've got skilled workers in New Zealand. But we don't necessarily have skilled workers in New Zealand because they have not demonstrated that people will sign the contract. And enforcement, a minor issue in this debate. The main exception that our team takes to this is just the aggression of the proposal. It's kind of turning people into kind of wanting to be defectors or traitors to their country. It's almost a human rights issue. It's picking on. You could compare it to North Korea. It's just picking on these people. I mean, admittedly, they are making these decisions. They are making the decisions themselves, but it's still at 18. I mean, it's kind of taking advantage of these people. It's iffy from a human rights point of view. So, ladies and gentlemen, why must the affirming team lose this debate? Because people going into skilled degrees will not want to sign into this 15 years imprisonment in the New Zealand workforce. The affirming team has not demonstrated why and how this is economically valid in the short or in the long term, and the methods of enforcement of this proposal are unrealistic, aggressive, and dubious from a human rights point of view. That is why the affirming team must lose the debate, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.